Welcome to AshTalks, featuring blogs by Ashmeet Segal from ashmeetsegal.com. In today's episode, we're exploring completing 5 years at Walmart. It's where Ashmeet shares insights and reflections on his time at Walmart. And, sometimes these career retrospectives can feel a bit like, whoa, like, oh, look at me, I did all this great stuff. But what's interesting about Ashmeet's approach here is that he structured this blog post as 5 distinct lists. Do's, don'ts, rules, learnings, and suggestions. It's almost like he's giving us a cheat sheet, based on what he's learned.
Yeah, it's a really practical way to kind of distill everything, right? And I think what's particularly intriguing is that Ashmeet emphasizes, these points being applicable beyond just Walmart specifically. It seems like he's aiming for something a little more universal, right? Like a guide to navigating a successful tech career or even just a fulfilling work life in general.
Exactly. So he kicks things off by talking about, joining Walmart, those initial expectations versus the reality. He says he was pleasantly surprised by the dynamic environment there and how it pushed him to grow both professionally and personally. He even mentions exceeding his own expectations, which is always a good sign, I think.
Yeah, it speaks to the importance of finding a workplace that challenges you, right? A place where you're constantly learning and pushing your boundaries. I mean, think about it. Comfort zones are cozy, but they rarely lead to significant growth.
So true. And speaking of pushing boundaries, let's dive into Ashmeet's first DO, embrace change. And he doesn't just say this in kind of a general sense either. He specifically calls out the need to be adaptable to new technologies and methodology.
Yeah, which makes total sense in the tech world, right? Things are evolving at warp speed. It's almost like the moment you master one framework, another one pops up to take its place. Ashmeet even says that at Walmart, the pace is such that, your ability to adapt directly impacts your ability to thrive.
I was struck by that too. It's a pretty clear message about the culture there. But I think it also highlights a larger truth about any career path, really. Being comfortable with change is no longer optional. It's essential.
Absolutely. And it's interesting how he contrasts that fast-paced environment with his next point, develop relationships. It's almost like he's saying, yes, be adaptable, but also remember the human element.
Right. And he's not just talking about casual friendships here either. Ashmeet really emphasizes the importance of building strong connections with colleagues, mentors, even people outside your immediate team. He seems to believe that those relationships are key to unlocking opportunities and collaborations, ones that you might otherwise miss.
It makes you think about the power of networking. Has there ever been a time in your own career, listener, where a connection you made opened a door for you? And it doesn't have to be like some grand formal mentorship. Even a casual conversation can spark an idea or lead to an unexpected opportunity.
Totally. Okay, so moving on, we've got focus on customer impact. Now, this might seem like a no-brainer, especially for someone in a customer-facing role, right? But Ashmeet brings it up because it's easy to lose sight of the bigger picture when you're deep in the weeds of a project.
He's basically saying, don't get so lost in the technical details that you forget who you're ultimately building this for, which is a good reminder for all of us, regardless of our roles. It's so easy to get caught up in internal metrics or processes, but at the end of the day, it's about delivering value to that end user.
And he even goes so far as to say, always act in accordance with the value you deliver. It's like a call to action. Make sure your work is aligned with the positive impact on the customer. Okay, now this next one I love, show initiative. This is where we get a glimpse of Ashmeet's personality, I think. He's not just advocating for following directions. He's urging people to be proactive, drive projects forward, be the one who steps up and says, hey, I've got an idea.
There's a real sense of ownership there, right? It's not about waiting for permission or being told what to do. It's about seeing a need and taking the initiative to address it. It reminds me of that saying, the best way to predict the future is to create it.
I like that. And it ties in nicely with his final DO, which is continuous learning. This is a theme that pops up throughout Ashmeet's blog, wouldn't you say? He seems to be a big believer in the idea that learning never stops, especially in a field like tech.
Yeah, it's interesting because he doesn't just say stay up to date on the latest tech trends. He frames it more broadly like curiosity is key. He wants people to be excited about exploring new concepts and expanding their knowledge, even beyond their immediate area of expertise.
I think he sees that thirst for knowledge as a driver of innovation, both for individuals and companies. So we've covered Ashmeet's 5 DOs. I'm curious, what's resonating with you so far, listener? Anything you particularly agree or disagree with?
It's a great question to consider. Sometimes it's helpful to kind of juxtapose someone else's experiences with our own, right? You might find surprising points of connection, or even areas where you have a different perspective. Either way, it's valuable food for thought.
Absolutely. Now, let's shift gears a bit and delve into Ashmeet's don'ts. These are things he's learned to avoid during his 5 years at Walmart. And the first one might make some people uncomfortable. Do not be defensive with feedback.
It's interesting because he doesn't just say, like, accept feedback.
hmm
He specifically calls out the defensiveness. That can sometimes arise, when we receive criticism, even if it's, like, well-intentioned.
I think he's learned that being open to feedback, even when it's tough to hear, is crucial for growth. It's about recognizing that we all have blind spots, and that sometimes the most valuable insights come from people who see things differently than we do.
Yeah, it's about having the humility to acknowledge that we don't have all the answers and that there's always room for improvement. And that ties in nicely with his next don't. Avoid overpromising. He's learned that it's better to underpromise and overdeliver than to set unrealistic expectations and then fall short.
That's a classic strategy for building trust, isn't it? It's about being honest about your capabilities and managing expectations effectively. Now, this next one hits close to home for a lot of people, I think,
Yeah.
especially in a demanding field like tech. Work-life balance. Ashmead is very candid about the risks of workaholism and burnout, which I appreciate. He's clearly learned that maintaining a healthy balance between our professional and personal lives is essential for long-term well-being.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point, especially in today's like always on culture. It's so easy to blur the lines between work and personal life. But Ashmead seems to have discovered that setting clear boundaries actually leads to higher productivity and better overall quality of life.
Yeah, it's like he's saying you can't pour from an empty cup, right? You need to take care of yourself to bring your best to your work. Now, his next don't is do not operate in silos. He's a big advocate for collaboration and knowledge sharing, and he cautions against getting stuck in our own little bubbles.
It's easy to do though, isn't it? Especially when you're, deep in a project or focused on a specific area of expertise. But Ashmead seems to have learned that breaking down those silos and working together leads to more creative solutions and better outcomes overall.
It's like he's advocating for that cross-pollination of ideas,
Mm.
which can be incredibly powerful.
Mm.
Okay, now this last don't is one of my favorites because it's a bit counterintuitive. Fail early and often. On the surface, it might sound like he's encouraging people to make mistakes,
Yeah.
but I think it's more nuanced than that. I agree. It's not about being reckless or careless. It's about embracing a growth mindset,
Yeah.
right? Where failure is seen as a learning opportunity. And I think there's a real element of courage in that, especially in like a high pressure environment
Mm.
where mistakes can feel very costly.
He's basically saying, like, don't let the fear of failure paralyze you. Take calculated risks, experiment, and learn from your missteps. It reminds me of that Thomas Edison quote, I haven't failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. It's about reframing failure as a stepping stone to success.
So we've covered Ashmead's DOs and don'ts, which
Right.
are already, I think, packed with insights. But he doesn't stop there. He goes on to outline his 5 rules, which feel like foundational principles for not just work, but life in general, really.
Yeah, and he sets a high bar right out of the gate with integrity first. He's basically saying that honesty and ethical conduct are non-negotiable, right? They form the bedrock of trust and credibility, which are essential in any relationship, professional or personal.
Yeah, it's like he's saying your reputation is everything, and it's built on doing the right thing, even when it's hard. And that leads perfectly into his next rule, respect everyone. Like, again, it sounds simple, but it's something we could all probably stand to be reminded of from time to time.
Oh, for sure. It's easy to fall into the trap of only respecting those in positions of authority or those who can, directly benefit us. But Ashmead's advocating for a more like holistic approach where we treat everyone with dignity and courtesy, regardless of their role or status.
And it's not just about being nice either.
No.
He specifically links this rule to creating a more productive and harmonious work environment. He's learned that when people feel respected and valued, they're more likely to contribute their best work
Yeah.
and collaborate effectively.
Now, his third rule might sound familiar. It's continue learning, which we've already touched upon, but it's worth reiterating here because it's clearly a core value for Ashmead. He's a firm believer in the power of lifelong learning, especially in a field like IT that's constantly evolving.
And he doesn't just mean like keeping up with the latest tech trends. He's talking about cultivating a mindset of curiosity and continuous improvement. It's about being open to new ideas, seeking out knowledge, and never stopping learning, really, no matter how experienced you become.
Yeah, I think that's such an important message, especially in today's world. The pace of change is only accelerating. If you're not constantly learning and adapting, you risk becoming, obsolete.
Okay, next up is Own It, which is all about accountability. Ashmead believes that taking responsibility for our actions, both good and bad, is essential for building trust and credibility.
It's about owning our mistakes, right?
Hmm.
Learning from them and moving forward. It's easy to point fingers or make excuses when things go wrong. But Ashmi seems to have learned that true leadership lies in acknowledging our shortcomings and taking steps to correct them.
And his final rule is act professionally. It might seem like a given, but in today's world where the lines between our personal and professional lives are increasingly blurred, it's worth emphasizing. Ashmead's reminding us that our conduct reflects not just on ourselves, but on our companies and our professions as a whole.
Yeah, it's about being mindful of how we present ourselves, how we communicate, how we interact with others, both online and offline. It's about maintaining a level of professionalism that inspires respect and trust.
All right, so we've explored Ashmead's DOs, Donati, and rules. Now let's dive into his 5 learnings, which offer a more personal reflection on the key takeaways from his 5 years at Walmart.
And his first learning is collaboration. And it might seem obvious, but I think it's easy to underestimate the power of teamwork, right? Ashmead seems to have really embraced this idea that working together, leveraging each other's strengths, and combining, diverse perspectives leads to better outcomes than working in isolation.
Yeah, he credits collaboration with fostering creativity,
Yeah.
problem solving, a sense of like shared ownership. It's interesting because it ties back to the earlier point about not operating in silos, right? He's not just advocating for collaboration in theory, he's actively practicing it and reaping the benefits.
His second learning is how to succeed in IT, which, as you pointed out earlier, it was a pretty vast topic, right? But he kind of boils it down to one key attribute: adaptability. He's learned that the tech industry is in constant flux, and the ability to embrace change, learn new things quickly, and pivot when necessary is crucial for success.
It's that growth mindset again, isn't it? Being willing to step outside your comfort zone, embrace new challenges, and constantly evolve your skill set.
Now, this next one is particularly insightful. Lead with empathy. Ashmead seems to have learned that, effective leadership isn't just about giving orders or delegating tasks. It's about understanding and considering the perspectives of your team members, especially when navigating change
Yeah.
or implementing new initiatives.
He's drawing on his experience in digital transformation, which often involves, significant disruption and uncertainty. He's learned that being able to empathize with your team's challenges and concerns is crucial for building trust,
Yeah.
fostering buy-in, and ultimately achieving success.
It's about leading with your heart as well as your head. And that ties in nicely with his fourth learning, which is importance of communication. Ashmead recognizes that clear, concise, and effective communication is essential for preventing misunderstandings, ensuring everyone's on the same page,
Yeah.
and ultimately achieving, shared goals.
Yeah, he's seen firsthand how breakdowns in communication can lead to costly errors, delays, and frustration. It's a reminder that we can't assume everyone has the same information or interprets things the same way. Taking the time to communicate clearly and effectively is crucial.
And his fifth learning is why diversity is important. This is something that's become increasingly, relevant in recent years. And Ashmead seems to have genuinely embraced the value of a diverse workplace. He's learned that having people from different backgrounds, perspectives, and experiences leads to, richer discussions, more creative solutions, and a more inclusive and welcoming work environment.
It's about recognizing that everyone has something unique to offer and that a diverse team is a stronger team. So we've covered Ashmead's 5 learnings. Listener, as we're going through these points, I'm curious, what's resonating most with you? What lessons have you learned in your own career that align with, or maybe even challenge, Ashmead's insights?
Yeah, it's a great question to ponder. It's amazing how we can learn so much from sharing experiences and perspectives. Now, on to Ashmead's final list, 5 suggestions. These are actionable steps he believes can help anyone navigate their career more effectively.
And he kicks things off with mentorship matters.
Mm.
He's a strong advocate for a mentor-led culture where experienced individuals guide and support those who are earlier in their careers.
Yeah, he sees mentorship as a two-way street where both parties benefit from the relationship. The mentee gains valuable insights and guidance, while the mentor has the opportunity to, reflect on their own experiences, and perhaps even gain fresh perspectives from their mentee.
And he encourages everyone to seek out mentors, both formally and informally, right? Could be someone within your company, someone in your field, or even just somebody you admire and whose career path you find inspiring.
His second suggestion is all about organization. Now, this might sound, a bit mundane, but Ashmead seems to have learned that having a systematic approach to managing tasks, responsibilities, even your physical workspace, can significantly reduce stress and improve productivity.
It's about finding systems that work for you, right?
Mhm.
Whether it's using a to-do list app, color coding your calendar, or simply decluttering your desk. The key is to find ways to stay organized and on top of things so you can focus on, the work that matters.
His third suggestion is join company culture.
Mhm.
He encourages employees to actively participate in company events, activities, and initiatives, even those that might fall outside their, immediate job responsibilities.
He's learned that getting involved in the broader company culture fosters a sense of belonging, right? Strengthens relationships, and can even lead to unexpected opportunities. It's about going beyond simply doing your job and becoming a part of the larger community within the organization.
His fourth suggestion is play the long game. This is where we see Ashmead's strategic thinking come into play. He advises us to focus on our long-term career goals and not get distracted by short-term wins or setbacks. It's about having a vision for where you want to be in, 5, 10, or even 20 years
Yeah.
and making decisions that align with that vision.
He's learned that sometimes the most rewarding path isn't always the quickest or easiest. It's about being patient, persistent,
Mm-hmm.
and staying focused on, the bigger picture.
And his final suggestion is a call to action. Give back. He encourages us to, find ways to support our communities, share our knowledge, and help others succeed. It could be through volunteering, mentoring, or simply offering a helping hand to a colleague.
Yeah, he sees giving back as an expression of gratitude, right, for those support and opportunities he's received throughout his career. It's about recognizing that we're all part of a larger ecosystem and that we have a responsibility to contribute to its well-being.
It's a beautiful sentiment, isn't it? It's not just about taking, it's about giving back and making the world a better place.
So we've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we? We've explored Ashmead's DOs, don't-ts, rules, learnings, and suggestions. It's an impressive roadmap, I think, for anyone looking to navigate their career with purpose and intention.
What I find particularly inspiring is how Ashmead blends practical advice with a genuine desire to help others succeed, right? He's not just sharing his knowledge, he's sharing his heart.
And before we wrap up, he ends his blog on kind of a reflective note, expressing gratitude for the experiences and lessons he's gained during his time at Walmart. He acknowledges the challenges he's faced and the growth he's achieved. And he looks forward to the future with a renewed sense of purpose and excitement.
Yeah, it's a powerful reminder that no matter where we are in our careers, there's always more to learn, more to contribute, and more to achieve, right? And that the journey itself is just as important as the destination.
It's inspiring, isn't it, to see someone who's achieved so much, but is still so focused on growth and giving back.
Absolutely. He's not resting on his laurels or anything. He's eager to keep learning, keep pushing himself, and keep contributing to the success of those around him. I think that's a great takeaway for all of us.
I agree. No matter where you are in your career, whether you're just starting out or you're, a seasoned veteran, there's always something new to learn, new skills to develop, and new ways to make a positive impact.
Yeah, it's about approaching your work with, a sense of curiosity, a willingness to embrace change, and a commitment to continuous learning. And it's about remembering that success isn't just about, individual achievement. It's about building something bigger than yourself, something that benefits others and makes a difference in the world.
So wrapping up this deep dive into Ashmead Segal's 5-year Walmart journey, I have to say I'm walking away with a lot to think about. His DOs, don't-ts, rules, learnings, and suggestions. They offer a wealth of practical advice that's applicable to anyone, really, regardless of their field or their level of experience.
Yeah, what really stood out to me was his emphasis on personal growth, continuous learning, and making a positive impact. It's a reminder that work can be more than just a job, right? It can be a vehicle for personal fulfillment, meaningful connections, and contributing to something larger than ourselves.
And remember, this is just a glimpse into Ashmead's wisdom. He has a whole treasure trove of insightful blogs just waiting to be discovered over on his website, ashmeetseagal.com. So if you're looking for more inspiration and guidance on your career journey, I highly recommend checking it out.
And why not share this deep dive with your friends and colleagues, too? Spread Ashmeet's message of growth, collaboration, and making a difference.
Thanks for listening. Visit ashmeetseagal.com for more blogs and share this podcast to inspire others. Until next time, stay inspired.